The child as a social being, a child-centered curriculum. In many classrooms today, teachers continue to lecture and deposit content knowledge into their students' brains. Can students really learn in a classroom like this one?
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the Great Depression, passed the a tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
In this type of learning experiences, the subject matter of education consists of bodies of information and of skills that have been worked out in the past. Therefore, the chief business of the school is to transmit them to the new generation. Students are funnels where all that content knowledge is deposited. They must be docile, receptive, and obedient. Books, especially textbooks, are the chief representatives of the lore and wisdom of the past, while teachers are the organs through which pupils are brought into effective connection with the material. They are the agents through which knowledge and skills are communicated and rules of conduct enforced. But what about the student's interests? What would he or she like to learn? How would he or she like to learn it? John Dewey proposes to replace imposition from above with expression and cultivation of individuality. To replace external discipline with free activity. To replace learning from texts and teachers with learning through experience. He proposed a child-centered curriculum, a curriculum where the child would be put in the center and everything would revolve around him. Dewey believed that the only true education comes through the stimulation of the child's powers by the demands of the social situations in which he finds himself. Through these demands, he is stimulated to act as a member of a unity, to emerge from his original narrowness of action and feeling, and to conceive of himself from the standpoint of the welfare of the group to which he belongs. Hence, it is impossible to prepare the child for any precise set of conditions. To prepare him for the future means so to train him that he will have the full and ready use of all his capacities, that his eye and ear and hand may be tools ready to command, that his judgment may be capable of grasping the conditions under which it has to work, and the executive forces be trained to act economically and efficiently. It is impossible to reach this sort of adjustment save as constant regard is had to the individual's own powers, tastes, and interests. Say, that is, as education is continually converted into psychological terms. So, for Dewey, his belief is that the individual who is to be educated is a social individual and that society is an organic union of individuals. If we eliminate the social factor from the child, we are left only with an abstraction. If we eliminate the individual factor from society, we are left only with an inert and lifeless mass. Education, therefore, must begin with a psychological insight into the child's capacities, interests, and habits. It must be controlled at every point by reference to these same considerations. These powers, interests, and habits must be continually interpreted. We must know what they mean. They must be translated into terms of their social equivalents, into terms of what they are capable of in the way of social service. And our societies need individuals who are educated to foster and create change. And many contemporary philosophers today have been inspired by Dewey's philosophy. Even though today's schools are plagued by standardized tests, teachers with excessive loads, discrimination, bullying, intolerance, contemporary philosophers have been inspired in Dewey's philosophy and keep proposing changes to the actual educational system. Change for a more inclusive, child-centered curriculum that will not only teach subject matter, but that will contribute to give the world better human beings. To focus on individuality and social action. I advise my students that I can teach them my philosophy, but they will have to listen to their own voice and take action in their own unique ways. Patrick Slattery. The focus on transformation. I believe that the curriculum and experiences that must be promoted by educators are those which produce a better adjustment to life experiences, create social consequences of value, and foster social and personal transformation for students and society. Thus, to reiterate my philosophy, education is a prophetic and transformative enterprise. Patrick Slattery. The belief that education must be relevant to students' interests. The truth is that disconnecting the curriculum from students' interests and teachers' intellectual passions ensures the failure to learn. As also, the belief that diversity should be taken into account. Learning to teach for diversity implies learning to implement more culturally inclusive and socially relevant pedagogical strategies. Alberto Rodriguez. Teachers must prepare, but students must also be active participants in their learning. Just as Pinar stated, teachers offer opportunities. It is students' responsibility to take advantage of them. And very important to remember is that teaching must be directed toward social change, community empowerment, and the liberation of the mind, body, and spirit of individual human beings. Patrick Slattery. The relevance of Dewey's philosophy is still current. Today we are facing the same problems that were faced during his time. Contemporary society, even though with many technological advances, continues to be plagued by hatred, intolerance, poverty, inequity, and many more issues that were also present during Dewey's lifetime, and that inspired him somehow in his philosophy.